Everyone's talking about the seven-stage empire collapse pattern. Spain followed it. Britain followed it. The Soviet Union followed it. And right now, America is deep inside it. But here's what nobody's telling you. I didn't just study the pattern. I calculated the timeline. I analyzed 500 years of economic data. Debt ratios, currency debasement rates, military spending, trade deficits. I overlaid Spain, Britain, and the USSR on top of each other. And what I found should terrify you. Each empire collapsed faster than the last. Spain took 80 years from stage 5 to stage 7. Britain took 40 years. The Soviet Union took less than 2. When you run America's numbers through the same model, we don't have decades. We have years. 3 to 5 years before stage 6 triggers. Maybe less. In the next 15 minutes, I'm going to show you exactly how I calculated this. The 4 specific trigger events to watch for. And most importantly, what happens to your money, your savings, your life when stage 6 hits. Because this isn't just about empires anymore. This is about you. Let's start with what everyone gets wrong. You've probably seen videos about the 7 stages. Military overextension, currency debasement, debt spiral, all the way to collapse. The pattern is real. I'm not disputing that. But everyone treats it like it's a slow, inevitable slide. Like we're watching a sunset. Like we have time. That's not how it works. When you actually study the data, empires don't decline gradually. They hold together, then they break. The collapse phase isn't slow. It's sudden. And here's the key insight everyone misses. The pattern is accelerating. It took Spain 80 years to go from stage 5 to total collapse. They had time to reform, to adjust. They didn't, but they could have. Britain had 40 years. They tried to hold on. Lost the empire anyway. The Soviet Union had 2 years. From Berlin Wall to complete dissolution. 900 days. Each collapse happened faster than the last. And there are mathematical reasons why. Globalization means capital moves instantly. In 1931, when Britain abandoned the gold standard, it took weeks for the impact to spread. Today, milliseconds. Information travels at the speed of light. When confidence breaks, it breaks everywhere at once. And debt complexity means cascading failures. When one domino falls, everything goes. So when people say America is at stage 5 and we have decades to figure it out, they're using the wrong model. We're not on Spain's timeline. We're on a timeline faster than the USSR. Let me show you why. Let's break down how we got here. And I promise, this isn't just history. This is the formula for what happens next. Spain, 1582-1660 to 80 years. Spain hit stage 5 around 1580. Peak military overextension. Currency debased, borrowing constantly, productive capacity collapsing. They declared bankruptcy 4 times between 1557 and 1596. Each time they restructured and kept going. But from 1580 to 1660, they went from global superpower to regional player. 80 years of slow bleed. Why did it take so long? Communication was slow. Capital couldn't flee instantly. The economy was primarily agricultural and local. Collapse happened at the speed of sailing ships. Britain, 1918 to 1960, 40 years. Britain hit stage 5 after World War I. Debt exploded. Gold reserves depleted. Currency overvalued and unsustainable. They tried to maintain the empire, tried to defend the pound, but by 1931 they abandoned the gold standard. By 1947 they lost India. By 1960 the empire was gone. 40 years from peak to irrelevance. Why faster than Spain? Industrial economy, telegraphs, faster capital movement, integrated global trade. Collapse happened at the speed of steamships and telegraph lines. Soviet Union, 1989 to 1991, 2 years. The USSR hit stage 5 by the late 1980s. Military spending unsustainable, economy stagnant, currency worthless internationally, empire cracking. Berlin Wall fell in November 1989. Soviet Union dissolved December 1991. 2 years. Not 40, not 80. 2. Why? Modern communication, integrated financial systems, psychological collapse, happening in real time on television. Collapse happened at the speed of cable news. America, 2022 202x. Years. We hit stage 5 around 2020. COVID accelerated everything. We printed $6 trillion. Debt hit 130% of GDP. Supply chains exposed our dependence on imports. Social cohesion fractured. We're now 5 years into stage 5. So how long until stage 6? Here's where it gets mathematical. The USSR had a closed economy. Capital couldn't flee because it was trapped inside. Collapse took 2 years, even with controls in place. America has an open economy. Capital can exit instantly. When confidence breaks, money moves at the speed of fiber optics. We have more debt than any empire in history. $36 trillion. Derivatives exposure in the hundreds of trillions. When you model the acceleration pattern, factor in digital capital flows, and account for debt complexity, the timeline compresses. My model says 3 to 5 years from 2025. That puts stage 6 triggers between 2027 and 2029. But models are just math. Let me show you the real indicators. Stage 6 is loss of reserve currency status, but that's not a single event. It's a sequence. There are 4 specific triggers, and 2 have already happened. Trigger 1. Debt interest exceeds military spending status, completed 2024. In 2024, for the first time in American history, we spent more on interest payments than on the military. Interest on the debt, $1.1 trillion. Military spending, $850 billion. This is a death spiral indicator. It means we're borrowing just to pay interest. And it gets worse every year. When this happened to Spain, they were 20 years from collapse. When Britain hit this point, they were 15 years out. For us, the clock started in 2024. Trigger 2. Major trade bloc forms without the dollar. Status: in progress BRICS expansion. In 2023, BRICS expanded. Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, plus Saudi Arabia, UAE, Iran, Egypt, Ethiopia. They're now 45% of global population, 35% of global GDP, and they're building alternative payment systems. China and Russia trade in yuan and rubles. Saudi Arabia accepts yuan for oil. This isn't theoretical. The infrastructure for a post-dollar system is being built right now. Spain lost reserve currency status, when other countries stopped accepting debased silver coins. Britain lost it when countries stopped holding pounds and switched to dollars. For us, the alternative system already exists. It just needs adoption. Trigger 3. Failed US Treasury auction. Status: not yet, but close. A failed Treasury auction means the US government tries to sell bonds and nobody shows up, or demands much higher interest rates to buy them. This hasn't happened yet, but we're seeing warning signs. Foreign holdings of US Treasuries are declining. China has reduced holdings. Japan is selling to defend the yen. When this trigger hits, it's catastrophic. It means the world doesn't trust us debt anymore. Spain's version: couldn't borrow anymore in 1596. Declared bankruptcy. Britain's version: had to get IMF bailout in 1976. USSR's version: couldn't sell bonds at all by 1990. For us, this is the point of no return. When this happens, Stage 6 is locked in. Trigger 4. Oil traded primarily in non-dollar currency. Status: not yet, but moving. The petrodollar system has backed US currency since 1974. Oil priced in dollars meant everyone needed dollars. That's changing. Saudi Arabia's 50-year petrodollar agreement with the US expired in 2024. They're now open to accepting other currencies. China is buying oil in yuan. Russia sells in rubles. When the majority of oil trades happen in non-dollar currencies, the entire foundation shifts. Spain's version: when their silver stopped being the trade currency of Europe. Britain's version: when oil started being priced in dollars instead of pounds. For us, this is Stage 6, fully activated. The timeline: 2 triggers complete. 2 in progress. If Trigger 3 hits in 2027, we have 18 to 24 months before Trigger 4. That puts full Stage 6 activation around 2028 to 2029. Stage 7, complete collapse, follows within 2 to 5 years. We're not talking about 2050. We're talking about the next presidential term. Okay, so the empire collapses. What does that actually mean for your life? Let me walk you through what happened to regular people in Spain, Britain, and the USSR. Then I'll tell you what to expect here. Spain's 1600s. What happened to regular people? When Spain's silver currency collapsed, people who held silver coins lost everything. The coins were supposed to be valuable. They became worthless. People who owned land kept their wealth. Land doesn't debase. People who had skills, trades, professions survived. Blacksmiths, farmers, merchants adapted. People who depended on the government, pensions, salaries, they were destroyed. The lesson: physical assets and skills survive. Paper promises don't. Britain 1940s, 1950s. What happened to regular people? When the pound collapsed, British savings evaporated. People who saved in pounds lost 75% of their purchasing power in a decade. The government imposed capital controls. You couldn't move money out of the country. Couldn't buy foreign currency. Trapped. Rationing continued until 1954, 9 years after the war ended. Not because of war damage, because the economy was broken. People who owned property survived. People who had pounds in the bank got crushed. The lesson: currency collapse means savings become worthless. Capital controls trap you. Soviet Union, 1991. What happened to regular people? When the USSR collapsed, The ruble became toilet paper. Literally. People used it to wallpaper apartments because it was cheaper than wallpaper. Life savings gone overnight. Pensions gone. Government salaries worthless. People survived by trading. Cigarettes became currency. Vodka became currency. Anything real had value. The new Russian government redenominated the currency. 1,000 old rubles became one new ruble, a 99.9% haircut. The lesson: when the system breaks, only real assets matter. America 2027 to 2030, what will happen to you? Here's the sequence based on the pattern. Phase 1. The confidence break, weeks 1 to 4. Trigger 3 hits. Treasury auction fails or yields spike dramatically. Stock market crashes 30 to 40% in days. Not a correction. A panic. Bank runs begin. Not physical lines, digital. Everyone tries to move money at once. Government announces temporary capital controls. You can't move large sums. Can't buy foreign currency easily. Phase 2. Currency crisis months 1 to 6. Dollar loses 30 to 50% of value against other currencies. Imported goods become incredibly expensive. Gas prices double or triple. Electronics, cars, appliances all spike. Inflation goes from 3% to 15 to 20%. Your salary doesn't keep up. People panic by essentials. Shortages appear not because of lack of production, but because of hoarding and logistics breakdown. Phase 3. System reset months 6 to 24. Government announces solutions. New currency, debt restructuring, austerity. Social Security gets cut. Medicare gets cut. Government pensions get cut. If you hold bonds, you get a haircut. They pay you 50 cents on the dollar, or restructure into longer terms at lower rates. Taxes skyrocket. Wealth taxes, VAT taxes, VAT taxes. Anything to close the gap. Phase 4. New normal years 2 to 5. America remains a major power, but not the power. Regional instead of global. Standard of living drops 30 to 40% for most people. Not apocalypse, just much, much harder. Dollar remains a currency, but not the currency. Used domestically, some international trade, but no longer dominant. Your savings, if in dollars, are worth 50 to 70% less in real terms. What this means practically: if you have $100,000 in savings today, in stage 6 it might buy what $30,000 buys now. If you have a pension, expect cuts or delays. If you work in government, finance, or industries dependent on government spending, expect job insecurity. If you own a house with a fixed mortgage, that's actually good. Your debt becomes cheaper to pay off. If you have skills that produce real value, you'll be fine. Plumbers, electricians, doctors, builders, farmers. Reality doesn't collapse. Just the paper system. This isn't Mad Max. It's Argentina in 2001, Russia in 1998, Britain in 1947. Life goes on. It's just poorer, harder, and the rules change overnight. Okay, so what do you actually do? I'm going to give you the playbook used by people who saw it coming in Spain, Britain, and the USSR. This isn't financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm a researcher showing you historical patterns. Do your own research. Consult professionals. But here's what worked. Strategy 1. Hard assets over paper assets. When currency collapses, paper promises fail. Physical assets hold value. What worked historically, land and property with fixed-rate debt, if possible, precious metals, gold, silver, productive equipment and tools, energy, assets, oil, commodities. What failed? Bonds government restructured or defaulted. Cash devalued rapidly, pensions cut or frozen. Savings accounts lost purchasing power. The principle: own things that have intrinsic value, not claims on value. Strategy 2. Geographic diversification. When one empire collapses, wealth moves to rising powers. In Spain's collapse, smart money went to Netherlands and England. In Britain's collapse, smart money went to America. In USSR's collapse, smart money went to the West. Where does smart money go when America stumbles? That's harder. There's no clear successor. But diversification means assets in multiple currencies, property in multiple countries, citizenship or residency options elsewhere. Not running away, creating options. Strategy 3. Skill development over credential collection. In every collapse, people with real skills survived. People with titles and credentials struggled. A Soviet engineer with actual technical skills could emigrate and thrive. A Soviet bureaucrat with impressive titles became unemployed. Skills that matter: technical trades, electrical, plumbing, construction, medical skills. Technology and programming, agriculture and food production, teaching and training. The principle: be valuable regardless of the system. Strategy 4. Community and network. Every collapse creates winners and losers. The difference is usually social capital. People with strong networks, family connections, community ties weather storms better. People isolated, dependent only on systems, suffer most. This isn't prepper fantasy. This is reality in every economic crisis. Build relationships. Know your neighbors. Have people you can rely on. Strategy 5. Stay informed and flexible. The 4 triggers I mentioned, track them. When trigger 3 hits, you have a window to act. Maybe 6 to 12 months before full crises. Don't wait for permission. Don't wait for mainstream media to tell you it's happening. By the time it's obvious to everyone, it's too late. What I'm doing personally, I'm not a prepper. I'm not panicking, but I'm preparing. I hold some precious metals, not as speculation, as insurance. I'm paying down debt, especially variable rate debt. I'm developing skills that have value regardless of economic system. And I'm tracking the triggers obsessively. When trigger 3 hits, I'll restructure everything. You should have a plan too. Here's what we know. The 7-stage pattern is real. 3 empires followed it. All collapsed. America is at stage 5, deep in the sequence. The timeline is accelerating. Spain took 80 years. Britain took 40. USSR took 2. Based on debt levels, capital mobility, and system complexity, America has 3 to 5 years before stage 6 triggers. 2 of the 4 triggers have already happened. 2 are in progress. When trigger 3 hits, you'll have maybe 18 months before full currency crisis. This isn't doom porn. This is pattern recognition. And here's the thing. You can't stop it. You're not in charge of empires, but you can prepare for it. You can position yourself to survive it, maybe even thrive in what comes after. Because collapse doesn't mean the end. It means transition. Spain still exists. Britain still exists. Russia still exists. America will still exist in 2035. It just won't be the same America. It won't have the same power, the same currency dominance, the same standard of living. And the people who see it coming and prepare will do fine. The people who don't, who keep all their savings in dollars, who depend entirely on government promises, who believe it can't happen here, they're going to learn what every generation before them learned. It can, and it does. So here's my advice. Study the triggers. Track them yourself. I'll be updating this quarterly with new data. Diversify your assets. Don't keep everything in one form. Develop real skills. Be valuable regardless of the system. Build community. You'll need people. And most importantly, accept that change is coming. The only question is whether you're ready for it. 3 empires followed this pattern. All believed they were exceptional. All believed they were different. All believed the rules didn't apply to them. They were wrong. History doesn't repeat, but it rhymes. And right now, the rhyme scheme is terrifyingly clear. The clock is ticking. The triggers are activating. The timeline is shorter than you think. Don't wait until it's obvious to everyone. By then, it's too late. If this opened your eyes to where we actually are, subscribe. Because when Trigger 3 hits, you're going to want to know immediately. I'll be tracking it. I'll be updating. And I'll show you exactly what to do when it happens. The pattern is clear. The timeline is calculated. The choice is yours. See you in the next one.